Hi guys, it's Aegis here. So today I'm going to talk about the OverDress SP event in the Manga Fest that happened on the 16th of May, which is a Sunday, at the Hong Kong International Exhibition Center, which is always the place when we have WGP. So it's been a long time since we get to have a big event, because last time we do have it is around a year or two ago, when Riviera is a big thing in V, which of course I've been helping out there as a judge by then, and recorded some matches which I already put up as well on my channel. And with this, I actually do get a chance to help out again. So I did went there mainly to help out on the SP events. I don't get too much time to help out on the Manga Fest event because the focus was on the SP events. So do expect to see matches from the SP events. So let's talk about it. The SP events, we do have a AM and PM parts, which both parts will have 5 rounds of Swiss, and after that the top 4 players from each part will go to the top 8, and then they'll the 8 players there will stay and play for the top prizes, which top prize is iPhone 12 Pro. So it's hard to see this kind of prize available for a Vanguard event, and have to say this one, the distributor actually fight hard to let Bushiroad to let them to hold this event, because of course about like the situation we have for now, we do always need to keep a social distance. So as you can see, the event is quite big, and we do have around 84 to 87 players joined, so that's really quite big, and we did our best to keep the social distance, and I hope everyone was happy and enjoy the matches while being safe. Yeah, so and then for second place, you do get 2 booster box and 5 trial decks, and then third and fourth place you get 1 booster box and 5 starter decks, and all top 4 you will get your trophy as well. So you can see on the image right here, I did get a chance to capture the trophies. So you can see it's not exactly all the prizes there, because it was just preparing, so I just took the time to take it so I can show you guys before they get to the winners. And the rest of the top 8 from 5th to 8th, they will get 1 of each of the trial decks. Yeah, and then we do have some lucky draws for like the Bruce deck boxes, Bastion deck boxes, and I think it's Bruce sleeves. That's what I can remember, which is still nice because you don't simply just get them easily. But yeah, it's just some fun elements. And back to the actually tournament events, we as I said, we do have 5 rounds of Swiss, and all of them are best of 1 matches. And then once you go to the top 8, the first round of top 8 is also a best of 1 match, but once you get to top 4, we do have a best of 3. So once you get to top 4, even if you lose 1 game, you still have a chance to keep fighting on before you lose 2. So which I think is helping players a little bit more instead of just 1 game and that's it, which I think sometimes with people from the West, I think they are used to best of 3 formats for most of the games, which is something that I am glad to see on top 4 that we get this kind of arrangement. Yeah. And the players, as I said, is around 84 to 87, and for AM and PM is about the same, because we have to register on the events before, and there's no walk-in, so you can only register first and then go there and see if you can win. So for players who always wants to aim for the iPhone or like top prizes, they just register for both, because they can't exactly guarantee they win on one of them and just be free on the next one. So they rather just play both. Even if you got top 4 in the AM event, you can still try to play on the PM one and see how far you can get. And even if the same player wins, they won't take the spot, so there's no worry on that. And actually, I heard players are using different decks on different parts, so which is interesting to see. And some players are using the same deck for both AM and PM events. Yeah. So first thing first, the ratio. Since AM and PM is basically the same set of people, so you can just see this ratio and just see it as both. Since they are similar people, so we don't combine them, and you can see them as a percentage ratio here. So let's talk about the ratio. We do have 31% on Bastion, 70% on Nirvana, 11% on Office, 1% on Sarah Snow, 17% on Barrel Magnus, 10% on Bruce, 7% on Sogar, 5% on Magnolia, and then 1% of the Hexa Mage. Unfortunately, we don't see Eugene. No one is probably brave enough to test their luck with Eugene, which Eugene best deck. But yeah, so let's talk about the actual ratio. So first, 31% on Bastion, I think is kind of expected. Bastion is a good deck, and you can go all out with Grey Freeze, and as long as you get your boost with Grey Freeze without personal right, you can still easily hit 30k, and you can even hit further. You do have a lot of draw power, and some people use the retire order as well, so you do have a lot of different variations to play with Bastion, and being able to do multiple attacks is really strong, really great. That's why we still see a lot of usage there. And then next is Nirvana and Barrel Magnus, which is kind of understandable, but Nirvana I didn't expect to be that much high in the ratio, even though in Japanese leagues, like how people topping in Japan, we do see a lot of Nirvana right now, but at the same time, Nirvana is being stable, and you don't have a lot of like big actions difference. Basically, you are doing kind of the same thing, overdressing, draw cards, attack with high power, maybe restand, and yeah, basically just those. So the Nirvana deck is actually quite stable, and in the tournament, people like to be stable. So if a deck that don't have a lot of randomness, and you don't need to rely on your personal right that much, of course if you have, it's a great plus, but it's not like a must with Nirvana. So I think that's why people actually pick it up. And when we actually look at some top lists, you will see the reason behind. And then of course Barrel Magnus, a deck that can win you games very fast, because if you do get yourself 15 soul on your first brief rewind and you are going first, your opponents will have a hard time if they don't have a PG, because your hitting them with crit, and who knows if you're going to pull more crits, like double crit and suddenly 4 damage, that's probably can be the end of the match. And it's on a best of 1 format, so you can only react when you see they're using that, and need to also depends on how things goes. And for Barrel Magnus, you can also rush your opponent before you get to your Barrel Magnus, so that's a good choice to pick as well. Which when people ask me what deck should they bring to this event, I do suggest them to use Barrel Magnus, just because of how fast it can be, or Bastion. I didn't suggest people to use Nirvana is because it's too stable. So there are times that if things go too stable and you don't have like a sudden strike, then like Barrel Magnus and Bastion can sometimes just use their randomness to fool you around and take your games. Yeah. And then next is Office, which I did see a lot of Office. Unfortunately, with including our Seraph, we don't see Brain Gate going to top 8, which I can tell you here. Top 8 is 4 Nirvana, 3 of the Bastion, and 1 of the Barrel Magnus. So we don't see Brain Gate, we don't see Stoichia, which as a Stoichia main, I'm a little bit sad, but it happens. And Stoichia actually requires you to use your brain quite a lot, and also depending on how your opponents get defensive triggers sometimes. Yeah, so Stoichia still have a little bit of hard time, but we do see kind of a high usage on both. 7%, 5% isn't too bad, but then Hexa and Seraph, the 2 females, are just 1%. And we do see 10% on Bruce, which I think most people still like Bruce, and it's still a good deck, but it's kind of slow, and you need to kind of keep your personal right going to put more pressure on. So I think that's why it isn't topping that much in here in Hong Kong. But I do see people have different variants, some using the Gear Colossus to go fully offensive, like 12 Griffries, and some are like using the this similar to the WCC build that is using Brody for more defensive play. So we do have different variants on Bruce, and they are actually doing quite well, but just can't top. Yeah, so that's basically all I need to say about the ratio, and let's look at the top list. So let's starting from the 3rd place, which is a Barrel Magnus build, and I'm so happy that this is actually my friend's build. So he went in top 3, and of course I do want him to go like higher, but it is what it is, and I think he did pretty well already, so I'm happy. And he is the only Dark States player on top 8, so being able to stay at top 8 and at least win a round to compete for the top places and then keep himself in top 3, which I think is very, very impressive. And we look at his list right here. Of course, Bright Line is simple, and then we have 4 Curtis, 3 of the Croyo Insects, 3 more Barrel Magnus for personal ride, 4 of the Selfish and Graver for soul charging and counter charging, 3 more Sonica for big attack bash, 4 of the Gun Ram so that you can soul charge, you won't draw cards. And the key point we want to let you see right here is the Steam Artist Vivana, of Pivana, which is a card I don't see a lot of people actually using, and even including myself. So let's talk about her skill. It's an active regard circle skill. By putting this unit into your soul, choose one of your units and it gets plus power 2k until end of turn. The power increase is not extremely important. Of course, if you do have some 8k and you want to boost them to 10k, you can. But the main thing is this card actually goes into your soul without any counter blast cost or whatever cost that is. Just having this unit on field and you can put her into soul. And why that is important is because this deck is a very fast deck, soul charging a lot, and you usually go deck out very fast. And sometimes you don't want to soul charge from your deck anymore, but you are lacking a card or two, then you can use this card, put into the soul, give your other unit 2k, which is kind of whatever, but that soul is in there and your deck is still the same in amount. So you don't force yourself to soul charge from your deck, you give yourself some options, but of course it's personal preference. If you don't quite like it, it's okay, but I think it's an interesting tech, interesting way to build this deck. And you see there's no brother soul, so during the on the day, based on what I see, if you really get rushed when you use this deck, sometimes you can only go 10 souls, so you do have a lot of soul charging stuff. And you can see there's a total of 4 Sonica, and the reason behind is with the festival collection Dragon Empire OverDress support grade 1, they can go into soul and give your OverDress unit 5k plus, which fill in the soul so that your foreigner can actually get more souls to burn units. And if you only have 2 Sonica, which is kind of like the deck list that I showed before on my channel, once your Sonica is gone, you lose your biggest attacker, and that can sometimes lose you games. Yeah, so I think that's the reason we see 4 Sonica there. And the rest of the list is basically PGs, Electro Spartan, 4 draws, 4 heals, and 7 crits and 1 over trigger. And the over trigger is actually hiding on the under the starter crits. Sorry about that. The person arranging the deck put it this way, so it happens, but the over trigger is there. So just a quick point out there. Yeah, so basically this deck try to aim soul charging faster while having some good attackers, because you do use quite a lot of great ones, so you can even just put them all down to keep attacking your opponents. Even the Vivana can just attack and you can soul charge her in whenever you want. And Gangaram, after soul charge, it doesn't matter if he's alive or not, because you usually won't soul blast free to draw one. So you can just spam it out. And for Sonica, as long as you don't face a deck that can put them to your drop zone, you can always get him on the field and then wait, you get 15 soul charge them in with your barrel Magnus and call them out again. Quite simple. Okay, now let's look at the second place list, which is a best in build, and we can see a interesting point right there is the use of grade 2. I think it's Rooks. It's Rooks, I think. And the reason that we see 2 of him here, which is according to what I heard from the player. I didn't directly ask him, but I did heard when I walk around, which is this grade 2 is having the same amount of boosting power as the grade 3, because your best makes your grade 3s to be 15k, and then your grade 3 dragons gives all your grade 3s boost, which is a 15k boost, which is the same, but then the grade 2 doesn't require you to soul blast that much. So if you're lacking souls, even if you have the dragon, you don't have the boost, which is why the grade 2 is more important right here. So you do have your options to gain boost, and your grade 2 can also be the intercept, which is still nice. And since Bastion doesn't require you to only restand a grade 3, so you can even put this in front and then put a grade 3 behind if you're on personal ride. Just do some normal plays. You don't actually need to use that skill if you put him in front, but if you put him at the back, then you can let him to get boost, just in case you need. So it's a interesting card in the deck, because most of the time when I see list of Bastion, it's like full of grade 3s and PG, of course, and the rest of the list is kind of simple. 4 shields, 4 getting soul plus 10k, 2 of the counter charge soul charge. I think it's because you don't your opponents can't easily get rid of this card, so they are only using 2, and then 4 of the triple rare, of course, to draw your cards, and then 4 more starter orders, so you can draw even more cards, 3 more Bastion for personal ride, grade 2 explained, grade 3 boost explained, and PG over trigger 4 heals, 8 crit and 3 draws. And since you do have a lot of draw power here, you can see there is basically 8 grade 3s for you to draw cards, and then you do have your right line to have you build a board and draw cards. I think that's why we only see 3 draws right there. Focus on crits, trying to get as much damage early games as possible or during mid game, so that you can have a high number attacking with crits and withstand with crit, whatever that happens. So this still makes this list a strong list, and with some interesting elements. Now, going to the first place list, so sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but I think the content is quite easy to identify right here, and let's quickly go through it. Starter, which is a non-trickster starter, so it can be the egg, it can be the Eugene grade 0, doesn't matter. And then you do have your Rayu, you do have your Reno, you have your Farina, and Nirvana, and then you do have 3 more Nirvana for the personal ride. You have your Valiente to restand, you have your Arcs to draw your set cards, you have your Farina to retire, and then you do have 2 orders, because we don't have tanky shields right here, so it's more important right there. And even if you can't find this card useful, you can always discard it for the cost of your right deck. 4 PGs, and then 5 of the great ones that can be 10k, including Reno, and then 4 Trickster, 8 crit, 3 draw, 4 heals, and 1 over trigger, which is very interesting to see. The reason why we see that much of the 10k attackers or booster great ones is that you can actually go rushing your opponents with this deck, which again is something that I heard when players talking about their decks, and why they are using these great ones is that they can actually go rush, because when you face a deck like Barrel Magnus, they do want to rush you, but at the same time they need to keep their hand as their resources so that they can soul charge enough to give you pressure. But then you attack them early, you force them to draw some hands to guard, but when your Electro Spotting Beam ride on rolled on the Barrel Magnus, you need to put a card from your hand into your soul to actually use the effects. So what if you clean up the hand, or just get their key pieces away or just left them in hand key pieces so they don't have a choice and put them into the soul, which is always a benefit to you. And since this deck can easily hit high numbers, your Nirvana can simply just share 10k to itself as a Vanguard and all your units with overdress, which you do have 12 of them, so it's not easy to don't have one of them. Yeah, so just that simple. And this list we don't see the Festival Collection Grade 1, which is quite interesting, but maybe just because they don't want to update the deck yet. Once you go update, you probably will see some of them in the deck, which we already see some in like top builds, but I'm only going to show you the top 3 just because that's what revealed. Yeah, so overall I think the results is kind of like not a big surprise. The Farna, which have been topping a lot in Japan, is also topping here, and again, as I said, the deck is quite stable. You do can early rush, and you are attacking with high power. You do have your draw power. After that, it's just how well you manage the deck. And then Bastion, still the highest usage right here, right now. Draw power, you can't complain with it. But the weakness is still quite easily seen is before you get to grade 3, that's like a moment that you can't guard that much. So something that you need to be very careful as a Bastion player. Of course, that's something that you can't avoid, but when you pick up this deck and go to a tournament, that's a risk that you want to make sure you know in the first place. In Brown Magnus, more reliant on how your opponents rush you, but at the same time you do get to rush your opponents. You get some easy board work as long as you get to 15 soul, and you do have high power multiple attacks. You do have attack with crits. That's probably basically just it. Yeah, so I think that's all I need to say about the SP events. Overall, very interesting. I do get a chance as a judge to keep walking around to see how people play with different decks, and I do get a chance to record matches. So I did record 5 of each matches from AM and PM events, because we do have 5 rounds each, and I get to record the top table, and then top 8 I got 3 videos recorded, which is the first round of top 8, and then is the top 4, and then the finals. So stay tuned for those. So there's a total of 13 videos that I'm going to release, which will take me some time to at least check them out first before releasing to you guys, and do whatever needed. So again, stay tuned for that. And after that, we do have our Vanguard, which is the Manga Fest, which is happening on the same day. It's basically after the AM and PM event, so it's overlapping with the top 8 of the SP events. So that's the reason why I don't get to cover that much, and I don't get a chance to record them because things are going quite fast there, and I still need to take care of top 8, which I think is more important for the SP events. And with this event, what you get as an entry prize is the promo Overtrigger, which I'm very glad that we in Hong Kong actually get a chance to get our hands on these cards, because usually they're only given out if you are in Japan actually attending to the Manga Fest in Japan. So get our hands on it, which is quite nice as a good collection item. I do have one myself as well, so I'm happy. And with this event, the first place, you get your special trophy and a limited playmat, which is official item. So I'm showing you here the pictures so you can see how nice they are. And a lot of people actually keep asking what the playmat is, and we only see it when the event happens. So yeah, when people see the playmat, they are more motivated to fight, so it's a good thing to see. If you go second, you get a booster box, you get one of each trial decks, and if you go to third and fourth place, you get one of each of the trial decks. So it's a little bit like a side event compared to the SP event, because distributor fight hard for that, so I think they put more focus there. But this event is also interesting to see. It's a more relaxing event. It's still best of one. Yeah, so nothing too much to say about that, but if you do want to see the winning deck, you can basically just check it out. Right here, I'm posting it right here, is a barrel Magnus list, so probably nothing too much to talk about. Yep, so I quickly go through the list, which of course, right line for barrel Magnus as usual. We do have 3 more barrel Magnus, 3 more Electro Spartan, 3 more Sonica. In the main deck, we do have 4 of the characters, 4 of the Service Engraver, 3 of the Gungram, 4 PGs, 4 crits, 1 overtrigger, 4 more crits, 3 draws, 4 heals, 2 Croyu insects, 3 of the Brother Soul, and 1 of the Shield Disorder. Yeah, so I think I actually see more people using the Disorder in Dark States, which is quite interesting for the high shield value, but you don't use too much. Brother Soul we don't see from the SP event, but we can see here. So this deck is more probably focusing on getting 15 soul on your first Gravely Ride compared to the top 3 one, because I think they expect like different levels of gameplay right there. Maybe one is trying to be more safe because you don't always get to go 15 souls, but one is focusing on 15 souls no matter what. Yeah, and then still crit focus, 3 draws, so you do need to act very fast. You might deck yourself out very quickly with this list, but if you do want to take it as a reference, feel free to do it. Yeah, so that's basically all I need to cover for both events. Overall, very interesting and fun events. Do see a lot of players working hard to show themselves how strong they are. Of course, there are builds that are quite interesting. There are builds what we consider as normal, stable, just usually what we see from top list. But we only have 1 set of booster, 1 set of festival collection, and 1 starter decks. But I think this actually is the only big events right now that can include all the card pools we have released for OverDress. So just stay tuned for the 5 videos that I'm going to put up. Hopefully it can be a good reference to all of you on how different decks actually play, and if you use this card, if you use that card, what will make a difference, and if it's a best of 1 or best of 3, how different it will be. Yeah, so I hope I can get them ready for you guys as soon as possible, since I actually do have a holiday after, like the day after I record this, so I do have some time to start working on that. Yeah, so overall I think this is a quite long video. I hope you enjoy it, enjoy the ride, and just stay tuned for the fight videos coming up, and let me know your comments. Do you want to see this kind of big events happening in your country, city, nations, continents, anything? Just feel free to drop them down, and also you can let me know your comments or your thoughts on the nation ratios, the free deck list that topped. Feel free to comment, feel free to share. Yeah, and we are hoping we can actually have this kind of big events again in Hong Kong very soon. But probably like when we are closing to set 2 release, or even later, we can't tell depending on how the situation goes. But always welcome big events, and I'm always happy to help out, as long as of course getting the footage covered, so we can show you guys how different people play different things, and in a tournament level. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys in the next video. Signing off.